good comedian. I think your lectures are boring. Let me ask you. Let me ask you a question on the news.
Now, this is theater. I mean, it's obvious. How old are you?
35.
And you wear a bow tie.
Yeah, I do. I do.
So this is...
No, I know.
So
You're right. No, let me just go. No, come on.
And listen, I'm not suggesting that you're not a smart guy, because those are not easy to tie. But the thing is that you're doing theater when you should be doing debate, which would be great.
No, it's
not honest. I think they believe President Bush would do a better job, and I believe the Kerry guys believe President Kerry would do a better job. But what I believe is they're not making honest arguments. So what they're doing is, in their mind, the ends justify the means.
I hate the show. I do think you're more fun on your show. Just my opinion.
But
okay, Jon Stewart goes one-on-one with his fans.
You're as big on your show as you are on any show.
Now you're getting into it. I like.
Remember when Jon Stewart single-handedly ended Tucker Carlson's career at CNN?
It's funny, you know, and I made a special effort to come on the show today because I have privately, amongst my friends, and also in occasional newspapers and television shows, mentioned this show as being bad. Here's just what I wanted to tell you guys.
Yeah.
Stop. Stop hurting America. Okay. See, the thing is, we need your help. Right now you're helping the politicians and the corporations, and we're left out there to mow our lawns.
You just said we're too rough on them when they make mistakes.
No, you're not too rough on them. You're part of their strategies. You're partisan, what do you call it, hacks.
Wait, Jon, let me tell you something valuable that I think we do that I'd like to see you do.
Something valuable?
Yeah, no, it's nice
I would like to hear it.
And I'll tell you, when politicians come on, it's nice to get them to try and answer the question. And in order to do that, we try and ask them pointed questions. I want to contrast our questions with some questions you asked John Kerry recently.
If you want to compare your show to a comedy show, you're more than welcome.
All the way back in 2004, Stewart was raising the alarm about how our country's legacy news outlets worked hand in hand with the political establishment to shift public opinion to match whatever position they wanted to be the mainstream opinion, which is completely antithetical to Carlson's and Pagawa's posturing as real journalists and truth seekers.
You know, I didn't realize that, and maybe this explains quite a bit,
the opportunity
is that the news organizations look to Comedy Central for their cues on integrity. So what I would suggest is, when you talk about you're holding politicians' feet to the fire, I think that's disingenuous. I think you're...
How are you holding up? I mean, come on.
No. I don't, but my role isn't, I don't think...
You can ask them a real question, don't you think? Instead of saying, you know...
I don't think I have to. By the way, I also asked him, you know, were you in Cambodia? But I didn't really care, because I don't care, because I think it's stupid. Well, but my point is this. If your idea of confronting me is that I don't ask hard-hitting enough news questions, we're in bad shape, fellas.
We're here to love you, not confront you.
No, but what I'm saying is this. I'm not. I'm here to confront you because we need help from the media, and they're hurting us. And it's now, the idea is...
If the indictment... Let me get this straight. If the indictment is... if the indictment is, and I have seen you say this, that Crossfire reduces everything, as I said in the intro, to left, right, black, white.
Yes.
Well, it's because, see, we're a debate show. It's like saying the
No, that'd be great.
To a storm
I would love to see a debate show.
In a 24-hour day where we have each side on as best we can get them.
No, that would be great.
And have them fight it out.
To do a debate would be great, but that's like saying pro wrestling is a show about athletic competition.
I think you're a good comedian. I think your lectures are boring. Let me ask you a question on the news.
Now, this is theater. I mean,
Stewart is 100% spot on here. Real political debates where everyone involved is putting a good faith effort to challenge, defend, and possibly change one's views is a complete pipe dream that has never been present or valued in our country's political system. Case in point being the total erasure of leftist, socialist, and communist political parties. If the political establishment value the merits of one's ideology instead of the most efficient way to gain and stay in power, we would have a much more robust left-wing base in the country.
what you do is partisan hackery. And I'll tell you why I know
Kerry
it.
on your show, and you sniff his throne, and you're accusing us of partisan hackery?
Absolutely.
You've got to be kidding, man.
You're on CNN.
Say,
the show that leads into me is puppets making crank phone calls. What is wrong with you?
Well, I'm just saying, there's no reason for you, when you have this marvelous opportunity not to be the guy's butt boy, to go ahead and be his butt boy.
Yes,
It's embarrassing.
I was absolutely his butt boy. I was so far. You would not believe what he ate 2 weeks ago. You know, the interesting thing that I have is you have a responsibility to the public discourse. And you fail miserably.
School, I think.
You need to go to one. The thing that I want to say is, when you have people on for just knee-jerk, reactionary talk...
Wait, I thought you were going to be funny. Come on, be funny.
No, I'm not going to be your monkey. This is such a great opportunity you have here to actually get politicians
really Jon
off
Stewart?
of their marketing and strategy. Yeah, it's someone who watches your show and cannot take it anymore. I just can't.
What's it like to have dinner with you? It must be excruciating. Do you like lecture people like this? Or do you come over to their house and sit and lecture them and, you know, they're not doing the right thing, that they're missing their opportunities, evading their responsibilities?
If I think they are.
Look, I wouldn't want to eat with you, man. That's horrible.
I know, and you won't.
Whatever disagreements we and you may have about Stewart's politics, it's undeniable that he's correct about the role of the media and how it's being used as a tool to manipulate the audience instead of informing and educating. Which brings us to this.
Here's why we're doing it. First, because it's our job. We're in journalism. Our duty is to inform people. 2 years into a war that's reshaping the entire world, most Americans are not informed. They have no real idea what's happening in this region, here in Russia or 600 miles away in Ukraine. But they should know. They're paying for much of it in ways they might not fully yet perceive. And yet the populations of the English-speaking countries seem mostly unaware. They think that as nothing has really changed. And they think that because no one has told them the truth. Their media outlets are corrupt. They lie to their readers and viewers. And they do that mostly by omission.
It is so incredibly rich for the likes of Tucker Carlson, one of the most watched cable news anchor and the favorite voice of white supremacists everywhere, to complain that the media is corrupt. Sir, you were the media for years and years.
Freedom of speech is our birthright. We were born with the right to say what we believe. That right cannot be taken away no matter who is in the White House. But they're trying anyway.
We're not going to show any of the 2-hour bootlicking sesh that was Carlson's quote-unquote interview with Vladimir Putin. So we will now turn to how Jon Stewart responded to one of his oldest nemesis. Stewart contextualized Carlson's infatuation with Putin and life in Russia by saying, quote, "The goal that Carlson and his ilk are pushing is that there's really no difference between our systems. In fact, theirs might be a little better. The question is why? Why is Tucker doing this? Here's why. It's because the old civilizational battle was communism versus capitalism. That's what drove the world since World War II. Russia was the enemy then, but now they think the battle is woke versus unwoke. And in that fight, Putin is an ally to the right. He's their friend. Unfortunately, he is also a brutal and ruthless dictator. So now they have to make Americans a little more comfortable with that. I mean, liberty is nice, but have you seen Russia's shopping carts? Stewart is spot on once again. Tucker interviewing Putin had nothing to do with informing Americans about the war, but was rather a not-so-sly way to humanize Putin and position him as an ally to the American right wing that holds the same social values. Tucker Carlson could not care less about the truth and doing real journalism. He has, and always will be, in it for the money, attention, and the theater of it all, just like Jon Stewart said almost 20 years ago.
If Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. You know?
Stop it! Oh, it's so weird. Stop. You know what? You are sick.
The king of the Republican Party is a creep. We all know this.
Wow! Did nobody see these videos before the election? Like, where? Usually you do a pre-interview before you do like this? Like, what? They're like, what's your answer gonna be? Like, I would have my daughter. I was like, why don't you just say sex? Just say sex. That's cleaner. Just say sex. That worked better in the Midwest.
Yeah. He's like, sex with her.
Late night heavyweights Desus and Mero know a thing or two about verbally punching fascists.
A well-educated black has a tremendous advantage over a well-educated white. A black may think that they don't really have the advantage. If I was starting off today, I would love to be a well-educated black.
Look, we all know Donald Trump is a bigot. The evidence clear as day.
Yo, Donald Trump is a white supremacist who has largely surrounded himself with other white supremacists. Boom, bang, bing, we're done here.
Everybody knows he's a white supremacist.
Everyone knows. Like, that's just a fact. It's just like saying the weather at this point.
Fair point here from the duo.
Beyonce didn't reference the Black Panthers to bring about some kind of positive change. She did it to get attention. Good for you. You made headlines. You, just like President Obama, Jada Pinkett Smith, Al Sharpton, and so many others, just can't let America heal. Keep ripping off the historical Band-Aid. Why be a cultural leader when you can play the victim, right? Your husband was a drug dealer. For 14 years, he sold crack cocaine.
When it comes to Tommy Lauren...
That's right. He's like, actually, 4 was crack, 10 was straight yay.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I mean? I had that work.
You know what I'm saying? I still got my coke flow. Yo, babe, you think I still got it?
They hilariously jibed her.
You hear about slavery for 400 years? For 400 years, that sounds like a choice.
Wow. It's very rare you can see the exact moment you stop with an artist. It's like...
How come no one is supporting Colin Kaepernick? I want to know why NFL players aren't offering voices of dissent. Protesting the national anthem is the perfect way for your message to get completely lost.
It is also an overcooked chicken nugget. Here's what I don't understand. How do you look like a Salisbury steak? Your head looks like a Salisbury steak. Can you explain that? Every time this thing opens his mouth, I'm waiting for caramel to start coming out.
We're mentally in prison. I like the word prison because slavery goes too direct to the idea of blacks. It's like slavery, Holocaust Jews, slavery is blacks.
Upon reflection, truly shocking I ever listened to this guy.
Stop.
Whoa, fam, what are you...
I'm not
Are you playing
person. Anytime you're saying slavery, Holocaust, slavery, blacks, Jews. No.
Stop.
On TMZ? No.
Stop.
See, I don't know, because I've been a Kanye fan, so now I'm just like, has he always just been talking like this? And I've just never, like, now the bubble's been popped, or...
I reiterate, at the time, my thoughts exactly. It almost felt like a backstabbing. And when Colin Kaepernick received Sports Illustrated's Muhammad Ali Legacy Award, Tommy Lauren couldn't help but hate. Desus and Mero would put her in her place.
Topanga lasagna sauce had to fix her no-lipped mouth to say.
Wow, police-hating Beyonce presents police and America-hating Cappy with a Legacy Award. This is how far we've fallen. Wow. What? Police-hating Beyonce?
She stay on Beyonce's deck.
Oh.
Wow.
See what I mean? There would be more hits.
The first thing we got to get Colin to do is cut his hair. You know, I mean, listen, I'm not up here to try to be politically correct, but, you know, even if he puts cornrows in it, I don't think he should represent himself, you know, in that way.
Michael Vick also was not immune.
All right, okay. All right. My man, you played with straight backs for like 40 years.
You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, Ron Mexico.
I'm not gonna even get into the meaning of this joke, so just Google it on your own time. They also wouldn't be done with Jason Whitlock and his so-called style that he has.
Never trust a man on a black fedora.
Come on. That's not even his fedora.
That's Alicia Keys' old.
Belongs to the tattoo from Fantasy Island. Like, come on, B. How you buy a hat that's 10 sizes too small for your head?
And lastly, this dude, pro golfer Grayson Murray, was in their crosshairs.
These police shootings have got to stop, but... you gotta have the but.
That's the backspin, like...
The fidget spinner of racism. But these police shootings have got to stop, but the way they will is stop being a threat to them. Obey the law, and I promise you will live.
Damn.
Black people.
Damn, homie.
Shout out to Mac Miller, though.
This is a flaming...
Oh, Grayson Murray.
Yo.
Why did you get on Twitter to say that? Racism exists because people let it exist. Oh, he's coming with the old white proverb. Pull out all the colors in the Corolla box. Like I said, if you are black, white, blue, yellow, just obey the law, and cops need to do the same. Who's blue?
All right.
At the count of 3, everyone, we're gonna stop letting racism.
All right, let's go. 1, 2, 3. No racism. That's it.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest here. Don't you miss it? Don't you miss the times that you would log on and you would see they dropped a new clip and it would take you by surprise and also just be flat out hilarious with how jaw-droppingly hilarious it was? I know I saw, they've gone their separate ways. Desus did some Daily Show stuff. Mero has been doing some stuff on the side as well. This is obviously post-Showtime, and he has a podcast with Carmelo Anthony. We will cover his comments next week, but what I truly, truly hope for is that we need this comedic twist. I understand we're somewhat of a serious show here. There are many serious shows out there. They brought joy and laughter to some of the hardest years politically that we have seen in our lifetimes. I'm not saying that this is everybody, but I am saying for millennials, Gen Z, our generation, not easy. But knowing that they were there to serve you the news with their own twist, there were no boundaries, and they were a hell of a duo. I am hopeful, not optimistic, but hopeful, that the fences will be mended and that they will be reuniting rather once again. Though at this time, it does not seem like they will. If there are any stories we missed, if there are any stories that you would like to submit to us, get at me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. DMs are open. Hope everyone has a fantastic day. Thank you for watching.
We've been 7 minutes since we showed that audio. Nobody's going to react to Doc's audio?
There's a lot of news when it comes to JJ Redick.
Wish I would tell the whole story with me, all right? My Orlando team was the HC. No one gives me credit for getting up against the Pistons who won the title.
He ripped longtime NBA coach Doc Rivers.
I've seen the trend now. I've seen the trend for years.
What's the trend?
The trend is always making excuses. Doc, we get it. Taking over a team in the middle of the season is hard. It's hard. We get it. Just like getting traded in the middle of the season is hard for a player. We get it. Mm-hmm. But it's always an excuse. It's always throwing your team under the bus. There's never accountability with that guy. Well, there's never accountability.
With even Rivers' son responding on those same airwaves.
For someone who's not accountable, he seems to always be held responsible, considering he's the guy that's always fired when things don't go right.
Former Rivers player Patrick Beverly also weighed in on Twitter, writing, "This man, Doc, actually saved your career. Started you when no one else wanted to. And you retire, go on television and say that, JJ Redick?" Now, JJ wouldn't let it slide either. Responding as such, "Pat, my guy, I had a 4-year offer with player option for the same money to be a starter for a different team. FOH saved my career."
Your best years were with the Clippers. I don't think he saved your career. I appreciate you, Pat, but I don't think it. This just seems a little bit weird. They're 3-7. Dame has missed most of those games. In terms of accountability, like what are we doing here? Your best years in the NBA were when you played for him in the Clippers. Let's not forget that. I don't know if there's frustration there or there's tension there between you. I know a lot of times we had to sit you towards the end of the game due to defensive reasons, but you had your best years as a starter there, especially our whole system was drafted around you because you're a shooter. Your best years were under him. It's just very ironic and kind of weird that you have this energy towards him in terms of him never, ever being accountable, considering he's always been responsible.
From all of this, Redick returned to give another take on the state of NBA media.
Since when is it players' jobs to educate people on basketball? When did that become a thing? When did that become a thing? Isn't that our job? Isn't that our job?
I'll answer.
I view that as my job. That's my job to educate people on basketball.
I'm letting you speak, and then I'll answer.
It's our job, Stephen A., to educate people on basketball. It's our job. And here's the reality. This is the ecosystem we live in. I can do a video on my podcast. Where I break down the last 9 games the Pelicans have used Zion Williamson as the primary ball handler and what type of actions that has led to. I looked it up this morning. 54,000 views on YouTube. But I want to call out a coach yesterday. Oh, that gets tens of millions of engagements. That's the ecosystem we live in. So do fans actually want to be educated or not?
Dave Zirin would see this and reply, "Contempt for the audience?" Nick Wright, host at FS1, would fire off this tweet in response to Redick's comments. "The great thing about modern sports media is there's literally an audience/platform for all types of coverage. You can do anything. and folks can create their own lanes/platforms where they do literally whatever they want. It's really an exciting time. I think there's a lot here, but first we must understand how layered this was. And a good tweet I saw was from Javon Edmonds. You called out your former coach and coworker, whose son is now your coworker, ESPN, after never saying any of it to his face, not to mention the best years of your career were with Doc Rivers. That would have got more engagements than anything, not just a film study. Exactly. I was watching this and I was thinking, like, bro just hasn't worked in the space before. Like, he does the pod, and which I love, and he breaks down film, which I love. I'm a basketball nerd. I appreciate it. But he's surprised when he goes after someone he played under when, unless we hear a different argument from the source, had the best years of his career under that coach, and then just dogs him. Yeah, man, it's going to be front page headlines. People are going to run with the tweets. They're going to clip out what you said, be like, oh man, JJ versus Doc, JJ feuding with former coach. Like, yeah, that's a sexy headline. It's not, you know, who's really had a great turnaround this year? Kobe White. Let's explain why. What are NBA fans, basketball fans, sports fans, because that's really the net you're casting here, what are they going to click on? Are they going to click on why Kobe White should be the number one player for the Chicago Bulls, or will it be JJ Redick calls out his former coach who he had the best years under in scathing rant on national television on number one show on national television? Like, come on. Let me also give you a hypothetical. Let's say perfect example, I leave the company, and then what I do is I then call out Jank, I call out Anna, I call out JR, I call out Jesus, I call out John, I call out Brett, I call out anybody. You know what's going to get the most amount of views? Not me talking about how I feel about Kobe White. It's going to be, forward TYT employee Rick Strom bashes Jank. Like, duh. On top of that, we've seen it. It is the literal blueprint. Like, come on. We're getting mad at the wrong things. We just are. Whenever a guy who's an athlete, girl, doesn't matter, goes after a former teammate, goes after a former coach, goes after a executive of a GM rather of a team, executive of a team, you know what's going to generate the most clicks? Not, hey, you know who I really think this team should put in at left defensive mid? It's going to be this player calls out their former soccer coach. Because it is interesting. In addition, this is what we care about because y'all are so tight-lipped with us when you play. You don't give us an inch. Think about this. And I understand why this player would not want to get into the weeds ever again. But in a way, at least how I took it, he subtly, Justin Fields, called out Luke Getsy, offensive coordinator, who's no longer with the team because he's inept, last year. And the media was like, oh, wow. That was insightful. We don't learn about these closed-door meetings. We don't learn about how y'all really, really feel about a coach. But then you just spilled it. So what are we supposed to do? Like, oh, man. You know, I can't watch that. I have to watch Zion Williamson's ball handling. Like, in addition, via AA, First Take's audience is not interested in a breakdown of Zion's impact on the Pelicans as a ball handler. Knicks fans and LeBron fans probably don't care about Zion's impact on the Pels as a ball handler either. There's certainly an audience for it, but the masses want to be entertained in their downtime, not educated, which is part of why First Take continues to be successful, but also is not necessarily immune from criticism. Hosts spewing hot takes, yelling about recycled topics, or feuding with an NBA coach has a better chance of garnering people's attention as they mindlessly scroll through Twitter than a headline about the Pelicans and ball handlers. Redick often complains about aggregators and the type of content he's asked to take part in on First Take, but creating catchy headlines about something funny entertaining, or controversial is not a new concept. Newspapers have been doing it for decades. Social media and the internet have just allowed for a lot more of it.